one of the one of the things that I never thought of or never really anticipated as I was doing my things, which is basically me just trying to express opinions verbally, that I then most of the time would listen to, just to sort of hear what I said, if there's any sort of constructive thinking in there, if there's anything in there that's tangible. And I thought this was great because it wasn't linear, it was very random. And later on, it was kind of like I got paranoid, like, are there people listening to this stuff? Are people watching? And I wanted to just black out my face, just like when I noticed that people were reading comments and people were getting pissed and people had perceptions of me as this kind of person. And when I walked around, people were cursing and just basically being rude and arrogant and stuff. And some people call me daddy and tate because you like to give out advice to people, what. So I basically just stopped this stuff because why should I take the criticism? So I went to this corner of self-reflection. And today sitting here, I have been it should have been a secret that I have a book in the works. But the thing about this book is it isn't a book in the traditional sense where people want to write a book because they want to make a particular point or a particular anything. No. What I want to do is sort of like a collection of my most important observations put together, and then I want to critique myself to the best of my ability, because I found out that critiquing is one of the things that I'm good at. And the thing about it is that I am merciless when I'm critiquing myself. I can critique myself to the bare knuckle, and when I critique myself, I can come up with a certain solution. And that's basically what I want to do with this untitled book right now. And I want to do it because I've got a few stuff going on right now. I'm back in school. School is starting soon, and it'll be like doing this and doing this and doing that. And one of the things that that made me pick up this phone and just record this today was like I realized something, and that is like when people speak of reconciliation and all sorts of things, and when people speak of kindness and sympathy and all of that, I've discovered that there are two coins to empathy. Historically, empathy is very dangerous, and historically, empathy is actually an enemy of present progress, right? When people have set sentimental attachments to history, right? Like especially in our country, there is a lot of hostility when it comes to history. It's like, this is my hero from my tribe who did this. This is my hero from my tribe who did this. All of that kind of stuff. And that is basically all linked to empathy. These individuals in the past that did these great things for a certain group of people. So when it comes to empathy and reconciliation, when people are trying to reconcile, there will be one group looking back at the suffering of the people in the past and thinking and empathy kicks in. And all of a sudden you put yourself in this position of that person where you're wondering, wow, how can someone suffer like that? And the other side of it is you'd be like, how can someone commit such an atrocity? So what's at play here is empathy is playing at people's emotions. So when you want to actually reconcile, and this is like once in South Africa they reconciled, and there was a certain gentleman who spoke about reconciliation, of course, reconciliation and affirmative action. Please hear that. Affirmative action. Right? A lot of people have been accusing me of taking someone's idea and trying to ride it. So I don't know, maybe I should distance myself from it, and that's what I'm doing. So I'm gonna just do my own thing, unless unless dude says screws screw them. Those are the negative people. They shouldn't stop the movement. But forgetting that, so affirmative action is corrective history, right? And you can't correct history if you're blinded by empathy. Right? So how do you remove empathy? I'll leave that as a question mark. Of course I have an answer to that, but that's something that I want to put down on my own thingy that I'm doing. So one of the hurdles is empathy. Empathy and sympathy. These are one of the things that heighten emotions. These are one of the things that stop deals from working. And here's another thing. A lot of people have been saying, if I'm a businessman and I want to buy something from someone and they won't sell it because of sentimental values. But the one thing that I have is I have absolute power. Sure, I'll delve right into it. The willing buyer, willing seller isn't working. And why isn't it working? Because most of the farms are still benefiting the farm owner. There is this great misconception that it benefits the nation. Let's be honest here. Most farms don't. This is the same misconception as the one in Zimbabwe, where a lot of no good farms, right? A lot of no good farms, because in Zimbabwe the number of farms that were actually doing good were in a very small minority, right? Most of the farms were just doing really bad. In fact, what they needed was bailouts, right? So they looked at that wrong, and the way they affirmed things was completely wrong. Instead of trying to strengthen their weak points, they ended up cutting off their weak points. And by cutting off their weak points and then trying to take over their strong points, poof, collapse. So, this isn't the kind of thinking that we have here. So when you have the willing buyer, willing seller, the thing is, who will take over these properties, right? And the one thing that comes to me is, look at the success stories. The success stories have one really important thing, and that is failure. Avoid failure. When you have abundant resources, what you should do, right, is enter into conservation. When these farms aren't feeding people, make them make profits. Use your military to protect endangered species. Use your military might. Have giraffes, rhinos, elephants just there, bringing up the revenue of these farms that aren't feeding people directly, but are actually contributing to things like trophy hunting and all of that stuff, but in a very controlled manner, where you can outclass your competition because you have a big resource of might. This requires some collaboration which is possible. So I look at some of these things and I just don't get it. Here's the competition. Outdo the competition. outdo the competition. Don't don't try to force the competition over. And this is now for big government. Whether they hear or not, that's theirs. Smaller people just want, small piece of land, a house, and, live simple lives. This is completely random of me, but it's just something that I thought of when I was, I saw this altercation between two people, and it was based on something very simple. And it's the things that I find simple, like linguistic divides, divides just due to skin pigment, cultures that aren't really very difficult, that are supposedly difficult. I mean, look at Biltong, for example. Every African culture, every Namibian culture dries their meat. One spices their meat and it's a different culture. Are you kidding? Such things. So let's really let people really look at these so-called diversities that they like to boast about, right? Look at the advantages and look at the very funny disadvantages of these so-called diversities, because this country is ahead in a lot of times, and I'm in a good mood because I'm 25 and it has been 25 years of independence, and it is silver jubilee, and I made this silver. So holla, peace.